Commander Marcus Hale pressed his forehead against the small viewport of the scout ship's cockpit. He watched swirling clouds of ash and smoke far below. The ship hovered at the edge of Zyraxi space, where sensors warned of volcanic activity and strange gravitational distortions. Marcus's mission was simple: gather data, map the surface, then return home. He felt a familiar thrill at the edge of danger. Humanity's reach was just beginning, and he was one of the first to set foot on worlds like this. Without warning, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms screamed as the hull rattled. Marcus slapped the console, bringing up the external scanners. Hundreds of dots blazed across the display. Alien dreadnoughts, their jagged silhouettes emerging from hyperspace. They swept in, forming a tight firing line. No transmission, no warning, only the roar of particle beams charging in the dark. Marcus's hands flew over the controls. He activated countermeasures and launched 3 flares, hoping to draw fire away from the cockpit. The first beam struck a flare and vanished in a burst of light. The second tore through the left wing, ripping through armor like paper. Warning lights chased across the dashboard. Fuel pressure dropped. Engines cut out of sync. He cursed under his breath but stayed calm. Panic would only kill him faster. In seconds, the ship pitched downward. The forward thrusters flared in a desperate attempt to slow the fall, but gravity pulled them relentlessly toward the moon. Marcus locked his harness and tightened his grip on the control stick. He engaged the emergency landing thrusters, feeling the heat build under his palms. Flames licked the metal hull as they pierced a low cloud of ash. The shuttle groaned under the pressure. Then came the crash. The ship burst through the cloud cover and slammed onto the blackened surface. Lava fissures split open around them, sending molten rock hissing into the air. The cockpit shook as if caught in an earthquake. Smoke filled the cabin. Marcus gritted his teeth and activated the eject sequence. The cockpit module detached, its parachute deploying in a shower of sparks. He hit the ground hard and rolled, the chute tearing away as the module skidded to a stop. The metal shell cracked open. Marcus hauled himself out, coughing against the choking ash. Above him, the sky burned red with distant eruptions, painting the sharp peaks of volcanic spires in blood-orange light. He stumbled to his feet and surveyed the alien landscape. Jagged rock towers rose like broken teeth. Rivers of glowing lava cut through black sand. In the near distance, a massive structure loomed, dark and angular, with walls that shimmered like obsidian under the twin moons. It was the alien Queen's citadel, exactly where the reconnaissance satellite had predicted, and exactly where Marcus never wanted to be. His communicator was fried. No backup. His rifle lay crushed under twisted metal. Yet he stood tall, shoulders squared. He took a deep breath of acrid air. Every instinct screamed to run, but every part of him knew the story had only begun. The alien dreadnoughts were still in orbit. Somewhere inside that fortress, Queen Zelfra waited, and Marcus Hale resolved that, even alone and unarmed, he would not give up without a fight. Marcus Hale's wrists burned where plasma cuffs bit into his skin. He was dragged down a long corridor of black stone, the walls etched with glowing runes. 2 armored Zyraxi guards pushed him forward without mercy. His uniform was torn and scorched, but his shoulders stayed straight. He looked neither down nor away. His steady gaze met every guard's helm-eyed stare as he entered the great hall. The throne room stretched before him like a dark cathedral. Obsidian pillars soared to a ceiling lost in shadow. Sconces of pale blue flame cast flickering light over a crowd of silent courtiers. At the far end, on a raised dais of jagged crystal, sat Queen Zelfra. Her form was regal and fearsome, tall, with horn crest and eyes like shifting storm clouds. Her armored hands rested on the arms of her throne. Marcus felt the weight of her gaze before he heard her voice. A high priest stepped forward and intoned the charges in a resonant tone. "Commander Marcus Hale of the United Earth Fleet," he began, "you stand accused of trespassing on Zyraxi soil, espionage against the crown, and the destruction of our patrol vessels. You have sown fear among our people and broken the sacred peace." His words echoed in the hushed hall, each accusation landing like a hammer blow. Marcus lifted his chin. The cuffs sparked faintly at each movement of his wrists, but he held his ground. When the charges ended, the Queen's cold voice drifted down. "Do you plead guilty or deny these charges, human?" she asked, her tone unreadable. He steadied his voice. "I deny them, Your Majesty." He spoke slowly, choosing each word. "I was on a mission of exploration. I carried no weapons of mass destruction. I came in peace. If your ships attacked without warning, then your accusation is hollow." A murmur ran through the court. Some guards shifted their weight. The high priest frowned. The Queen's eyes narrowed, as if weighing his words with ancient scales. Marcus felt the tension like a pulse in the air. Then he spoke again, louder. "Humanity knows honor, Your Majesty. We value truth and fairness. I stand here not as an invader, but as a representative of my people. If you seek the truth, test me with justice. Do not condemn me by fear." Silence fell deeper. The flames guttered. Marcus's heart beat so loud he thought it might break the quiet. He readied himself for whatever came next, a charge of contempt, a command to bow, or the final order to execute. But instead, he saw a single movement. Queen Zelthra rose from her throne, her form looming. She raised a hand, and the high priest paused. "Enough," she said, her voice carrying over every stone. "This trial will not end in death. For now." She turned her stormy gaze upon Marcus. "You will live human, but your fate remains in balance. Prove your worth, or you will die by my hand." Marcus blinked. The cuffs unlocked with a hiss, and the guard stepped back. He straightened his shoulders, feeling freedom return like fresh air. In that moment, he saw something unexpected in the Queen's eyes, a flicker of curiosity, of challenge. He bowed his head once, in respect and relief, then met her gaze again. The trial was over, but a new journey had begun. The execution chamber lay at the heart of the citadel, a circular pit surrounded by tiered stone seats. At its center, two crystalline pillars glowed with lethal energy, ready to end a life in an instant. Marcus Hale stood on the cold, polished floor, his wrists free, but his arms held stiff by invisible force fields. Above him, the courtiers watched in silence, and Queen Zelthra sat upon her throne, her storm-gray eyes fixed on his face. A hush fell as the Queen raised her hand. The pillar's glow intensified, bathing Marcus in harsh white light. His heart pounded, but he straightened his back and met the Queen's gaze without fear. In that moment, he felt not like a prisoner, but like a soldier facing impossible odds, and he refused to surrender. "You will die for your crimes," the Queen intoned, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Speak no last words." A guard reached for the control lever. Marcus exhaled slowly. Then, with calm deliberation, he spoke, his voice carrying across the chamber. "Your Majesty," he began, "before you destroy me, know this. Humanity's strength lies not only in our weapons, but in our mercy. Our greatest victories come when we win hearts, not when we crush foes without trial." He paused, letting each word settle in the stunned silence. Queen Zelthra's hand stilled. The guard hesitated, eyes flicking to the Queen. Marcus continued, "We honor those we defeat, whether they are friend or enemy. It is this code of honor that binds our people. If you value strength, then show it, not through fear, but through fair judgment." A murmur rippled through the crowd. The high priest frowned, and some guards exchanged uncertain glances. Marcus held his ground. His uniform was scorched, his body bruised, but his spirit shone brighter than any battle scar. Queen Zelthra leaned forward. Her voice, low and quiet, broke the silence. "You speak boldly for one so close to death." Her stormy eyes studied him, as if weighing a scale. "You claim mercy is strength. In your world, does mercy conquer all?" Marcus nodded. Yes, Your Majesty. Mercy can build alliances stronger than steel. It can turn enemies into allies and warn tyrants that compassion still exists among the stars. The queen's gaze narrowed. For a moment, there was only the faint hum of the crystal pillars. Then she stood, her tall form casting a long shadow. Rise, Commander Marcus Hale, she commanded. Let the lights die. Both pillars dimmed instantly. The force fields fell away. Marcus sank to one knee, unsure whether he was free or simply delaying the inevitable. The queen strode down the steps until she stood before him, her gaze intense but not unkind. You have spoken well, Zelthra said. Few dare to teach me my own lessons. She tapped one of the now dark pillars with her armored toe. I will grant you life. For now, prove that your code of honor holds true. Survive 3 trials I will set before you. Succeed, and you shall earn my respect. Fail, and this chamber will be your tomb. Marcus bowed his head. Relief flooded him, but he knew his journey was far from over. He rose, meeting the queen's eyes with steady courage. I will not fail you, Your Majesty, he promised. Zelthra inclined her head once, then turned and swept from the chamber. Behind her, the doors closed with a thunderous boom. Marcus stood alone in the sudden quiet, a single spark of hope ignited within him. Proof that even in darkness, honor could light the way. Marcus woke before dawn in a narrow chamber carved from dark stone. His muscles ached from the previous trials, but his mind raced with questions. As he dressed in the plain tunic provided by the queen's guards, a silent door slid open. 2 cloaked figures slipped inside, their faces hidden beneath deep hoods. We have urgent news, whispered the taller emissary. In the dim light, Marcus saw the glow of strange circuitry on her wrist cuff. We serve Queen Zelthra's secret guard. You must come with us. He nodded and followed them through winding halls. The castle's grandeur gave way to hidden passages lined with ancient glyphs. Finally, they reached a small vault door. Inside, a holomap flickered over a stone pedestal. Small points of light marked hidden weapons caches and patrol routings across the moon. The shorter emissary tapped the map. This weapon, she said, lies at the heart of the rogue High Council faction. It is called the Skybreaker. When activated, it can shred planetary shields and flatten cities with a single pulse. Marcus stared at the rotating image of a long cylinder, its surface crisscrossed with glowing veins. If they fire it at Earth, he said, voice low, humanity will be wiped out. They plan to launch within 2 cycles, the emissary warned, and they will not hesitate to strike Xeraxi worlds first. Queen Zelthra does not know this yet. Only we and a handful of loyal advisors suspect the betrayal. Marcus swallowed. Despite the fear clawing inside him, he steeled his resolve. What can I do? He asked. I am only one man. The taller emissary smiled, though the gesture lacked warmth. You stand between them and the queen. If you can find the council chamber and steal their orders, we can prove their guilt. With hard evidence, Zelthra will have no choice but to join you. He studied the map. The council chambers lay beneath the citadel, protected by multiple doors and energy fields. I need a way past the guards, he said thoughtfully. And time is short. The emissary pressed a small device into his palm. This cloak will blend you into the shadows. Use it wisely. Once you have the orders, meet us at the eastern gate. We will arrange your return to the throne room. Marcus nodded, determination blazing in his eyes. He turned to the vault door. Thank you, he said. I won't fail. Back in his cell, he waited for the sentries to change shift. When the corridor grew quiet, he slipped on the stealth cloak and crept out. The cooled stone walls felt alive with danger. Pulse rifles of the guard echoed in the distance, but he moved with the silence of a ghost. Ahead lay the heavy hatch of the subterranean council. Beyond it, the fate of 2 worlds hung in unstable balance. Marcus paused, drawing a steadying breath. He had entered the queen's domain as a captive. Now, He would emerge as a savior or fall trying. With one last look at the flickering corridor, he pressed forward into the deep darkness, the emissary's warning fresh in his mind, and the weight of countless lives on his shoulders. Marcus stepped through the acid-choked jungle, each breath burning his lungs with the acrid fumes. Queen Zelthra walked beside him, her heavy armor clinking with every careful step. He had expected guards or cells, not this silent march through a dangerous wilderness. Yet here they were, bound by a fragile alliance. The jungle pulsed with life. Vines dripped sizzling droplets into shallow pools that hissed when they landed. Gnarled trees twisted skyward, their bark etched with glowing scars from past eruptions. Strange insects flickered like embers in the dim light, and every shadow seemed poised to strike. Marcus kept his eyes forward, his hand never leaving the small sidearm strapped to his belt. Zelthra's gait was steady and sure, despite the rough ground. She paused by a stream of orange water and dipped a gauntleted hand into the current. "This moon tests all who walk its surface," she said softly, her storm-gray eyes on the rippling liquid. "Few survive its trials." Marcus nodded. "We will survive," he replied. "We must." Neither spoke of the Skybreaker or the conspirators waiting in the shadows. Their mission pressed them onward. As they moved deeper, the jungle grew denser. Acid mist clung to the air, and Marcus tightened his mask. Zelthra removed her helmet, letting her dark hair fall around her shoulders. He realized she trusted him enough not to fear his reaction. He bowed his head slightly in respect. Without warning, the ground trembled. A low roar shook the air. From behind a cluster of obsidian trees, a massive reptilian beast lunged, its scales like broken glass, and its maw dripping acidic saliva. Marcus dove aside as the creature smashed its claw into the earth, sending shards of rock flying. Zelthra drew her plasma blade with a hiss. Light flared along its edge. She advanced with ruthless grace, each step measured. Marcus found himself standing at her back, gripping his sidearm. The beast charged again, jaws open wide. Together, they struck. Zelthra's blade carved through the beast's foreleg, and Marcus fired a precise shot into its flank. The creature screamed, acid sputtering from its wounds. It thrashed, then toppled into the ash. Marcus exhaled, his heart hammering. Zelthra wiped her blade on a ragged leaf. "You fight well," she said, her voice almost approving. He offered her a brief nod. They pressed on, the jungle's hostility momentarily forgotten. Soon they reached a crumbling outpost built into a lava tube. Emissary scouts had marked it as a resting point for rogue council members. Marcus produced the stealth cloak and slipped under the broken doorway. The queen watched, her expression unreadable. Inside, holo-projectors flickered around a central table. Marcus placed the cloak's edge over his arm and slipped past the idle guards. In seconds, he found a datapad with delivery orders for the Skybreaker components. He copied the files into his wrist console, then melted back into shadow. Outside, Zelthra waited by a blazing torch. Marcus emerged, clutching the console. Relief shone in her eyes. "The evidence?" she asked softly. He handed it over. All of it. The weapon, the schedules, every traitor's name. She slid the console into her armor. "You have done well, Marcus Hale. You have saved my rule and perhaps my people." Marcus felt pride and gratitude. Their journey had begun as captor and prisoner. Now, they stood together as allies. Ahead lay peril, but also hope. United by honor, they would face the storms to come, together. Marcus and Queen Zelthra crept through the narrow canyon that led back toward the citadel. The data console burned against Marcus's side, holding proof of the High Council's betrayal. Each step echoed against the stone walls, and every shadow seemed to hide enemies. Marcus led the way, his senses honed by years of patrol. Zelthra watched his back, trusting him to guide them safely. Suddenly, a hidden panel clicked, and the ground beneath them shuddered. A volley of razor-sharp blades shot from the walls. Marcus yanked Zelthra aside just in time. Her heavy armor saved her from the worst of it, but a blade nicked her forearm. He grabbed her hand and pulled her clear as sand and metal shards rained down. Heart pounding, he pressed a healing patch into her wound. She nodded her thanks, her fierce eyes softening in the dim light. They moved on with more caution. Strange glyphs along the canyon walls marked traps. Acid vents, collapsing ledges, and energy nets. At one point, Marcus stepped on a glowing rune, and a net of crackling light snapped around him. He yelled as the net tightened. Zelthra rushed forward, her blade humming. She sliced through the energy strands, setting him free. Marcus collapsed to his knees, gasping, and she stayed at his side until he could stand again. Their breaths mingled, and for a moment they were no longer prisoner and queen, but two souls bound by a common goal. As dusk fell, they found a sheltered ledge high above the lava flows. Zelthra built a small fire from charred branches she had carried in her pack. The flames cast dancing shadows over their tired faces. Marcus offered water from his canteen, and she drank gratefully. The acid mist below bore down with a gentle hiss, but here, the air was still enough for them to rest. Under the flickering light, they shared stories. Marcus spoke of Earth's blue oceans and green forests, of children playing in fields and families gathered around tables. His voice held wonder at the beauty he loved. Zelthra listened, eyes distant, then told him of the Ziraxi homeworld, of crystal towers that caught starlight, and great libraries of living stone. She spoke of her childhood, learning the art of leadership from her mother, and of the loneliness that came with the crown. Each tale bridged the gap between their worlds. When the fire burned low, Marcus looked at Zelthra. "I did not expect to trust an alien queen," he said softly. "Yet here I am, beside you." She smiled, a gentle curve beneath her storm-gray eyes. "And I did not expect to trust a human soldier," she replied. "But you have proven your honor." They rose as one, extinguished the fire, and continued toward the citadel. In the hush of night, they walked side by side, each trial behind them, and one final test awaiting at the throne room. Trust had taken root between them, and with it, hope for both their peoples. Before dawn, Marcus Hale gathered his human strike team at the base of the crystal spire. Their armor was dark, their weapons silent in the cold air. Beside him stood Queen Zelthra, her obsidian armor carved with silver runes that caught the faint light. Marcus laid out the plan. 2 entry points, 1 small squad to disable the shield generator, the main force to storm the council chamber above. As the first light of Epsilon Prime's twin suns crept over the horizon, the team moved. Marcus led the flanking squad through a narrow service tunnel. Zelthra and her elite guard advanced up the central ramp. The spire's jagged walls glowed faintly as they tapped ancient power. Every step brought them closer to the traitors who would doom both worlds. At the eastern entrance, Marcus used the stolen codes to shut down the energy shield. A low hum died away, and the massive doors grated open. His squad flooded inside, blasters raised. Marcus covered their advance with careful fire, pressing them through a maze of crystal pillars that refracted their lights into ghostly patterns. Above, Zelthra's guard cut through Ziraxi loyalists. Her plasma blade was a bright slash in the dim corridors. She moved with warrior's grace, clearing the way toward the council chamber. Each fallen guard gave her team choice words of praise. She nodded curtly, her focus on the battle ahead. Inside the chamber, the rogue council had gathered around the Skybreaker controls. The warlord Tazkor barked orders as he calibrated the weapon. Traitorous ministers tracked their progress on holoscreens. They did not notice the silent shadow behind them, Marcus's squad slipping through the side door. With a sharp whistle, Marcus signaled the attack. Blaster fire erupted. Shock grenades bounced against crystal walls, showering the room with sparks. Council members dove for cover. Marcus sprinted forward, planting explosive charges on the Skybreaker console. He flicked switches, then raised his rifle at Tazkor. At the same moment, in the balcony above, Zelthra faced her brother, the council's high priest. His eyes were cold, his blade drawn. They clashed in a storm of sparks, her plasma edge against his dark staff. Each strike rang like a bell in the hall, and each parry echoed through the chamber below. Marcus took aim at Tazkor's chest. The warlord lunged toward the consul, but the explosion charges were set. With a roar, he fired. Marcus returned fire, pins Tazkor against the consul. At that moment, Zelthra's blade shattered the priest's staff. He dropped to one knee, defeated. A thunderous boom shook the spire as the charges detonated. The Skybreaker controls were destroyed in a shower of fractured crystal. Panels collapsed, and the robed conspirators dropped their weapons. Smoke and dust filled the chamber, but the team pressed forward, securing every exit. When the light cleared, Marcus stood beside Zelthra at the heart of the council hall. The traitors were bound, their plots exposed. The Queen's Guard took them away under Marcus's watchful eye. Together, human and Ziraxi forces had broken the rebellion and saved both civilizations from annihilation. Alara Varen stepped off the docking ramp and paused just inside the wide entrance hall of the Terran Alliance station. Her tall, slender form was wrapped in a smooth, silvery robe that reflected the pale light of the corridor panels. She moved with the quiet grace of someone who had walked crystal paths for 1,000 years, yet she was very new to this human world. Lieutenant Marcus Haywood stood to attention a few paces away. His uniform was crisp, and his posture was strong, but his eyes betrayed him. He could not look away from the soft glow of Alara's bioluminescent tattoos. On each arm, glowing runes shifted in gentle ripples of blue and green. Around her neck, a delicate chain held a single clear crystal that pulsed like a heartbeat. Marcus realized he had stared too long. He cleared his throat and turned his head, but Alara's sharp violet eyes had already caught him. She raised one slender eyebrow and cocked her head. "Why are you looking at me like that, human?" she asked, her voice soft but precise. Marcus swallowed. Sorry, Your Excellency," he stammered. He took a careful step forward. "I have never seen a Cerelian so close." He broke off, trying to find the right words. His mind raced with science reports and protocol guidelines, but none of it felt right here. Alara's lips curved into something almost like a smile. "I am Alara Varen, envoy from Cerelia. I am honored to be here. You may call me Alara." Her voice carried the smooth resonance of a wind chime, gentle yet impossible to ignore. Marcus relaxed just a little. "Lieutenant Marcus Haywood, at your service," he said, his voice steadier now. He bowed slightly, aware that on Cerelia, bows meant far more than simple respect. But he offered the gesture anyway, hoping it would show he meant well. Alara inclined her head in return. "Your service is noted, Lieutenant. I trust you know why I have come." Marcus glanced toward the nearby control console. "Yes, Your Excellency. You are here for the Council Summit. We have prepared a private briefing room and all necessary support. If you will follow me, I can show you the way." As they began to walk, Alara studied the stretch of corridor before them. The walls were white metal, lined with slender tubes of ultraviolet light. Small service drones hovered near the ceiling, humming quietly as they carried tools to waiting engineers. Everything felt fragile and temporary compared to the crystalline spires of her home world. Marcus glanced at her once more. "If you have questions about our station or our people, please do ask," he offered. "I will do my best to answer." Alara's tattoos pulsed brighter for a moment, as if she were amused. "Very well, Marcus Haywood. Tell me, what makes a human lieutenant proud to serve in this place?" Marcus straightened his shoulders. He felt a sudden surge of pride, not in rank or station, but in the chance to show Alara and all of Cerelia what humanity could offer. "Our people believe in second chances," he replied. "We value strength and compassion in equal measure, and we understand that the greatest power is the power to trust." Alara paused and looked at him fully for the first time. In the glow of her tattoos, Marcus felt both seen and respected. The next steps of their journey together would not be easy. He could tell that much. But in that moment, he knew something had shifted. And somewhere between a simple glance and an unspoken promise, two very different worlds began to draw closer.